And now, this week's edition of Big Face with your host, Samantha Jane Tilton.
Hey guys, this is Sammy Jane. How's it going out there? I wanted to give you guys a little update, a little heads up. This episode is actually from pre-COVID, the whole BC deal. Way back when life was, normally regular difficult, not like this whole other mishigas COVID difficult that we've all come to know as our new normal, which, I'm not gonna lie, for today it feels like it sucks. A lot of days I could feel like being positive, and maybe in 5 minutes I'll get there again. But for right now, I'm kind of like, nah, kind of over it. I want to see you guys again. I want to be in a studio casting a real audition, with my people. I want to go walk into a room and audition again, and just be with the world. I really miss you guys. I miss the world as it was. Feels like such a long time ago that I was with you guys, and I really miss it, and I miss you. So I thought I'd do right now, I don't know if those of you tuned in or who tuned in last week, but long story short, COVID bit me, mofo. COVID got me. It got me in late December, but more than that, I was at the hospital getting, a shoulder injection, and 5 days later I started getting sick with something, and don't know whether it's COVID or not, but 7 months later, still sick. So it's been rough, man. Those of you out there that have had this or are struggling with any kind of health stuff, I'm with you. I feel for you. It's tough times, and anyway, a day at a time, right? That's all we can do. But I've thought about, I have these episodes that I recorded from before all this went down, and I haven't even listened to them because I'm like, none of it matters, right? This is before COVID, doesn't matter to anybody, doesn't make any sense, but it does. I listened back to this episode, and so this one that you're going to listen to is with my man, Brian McCarthy. And so what you're listening to in a couple of minutes when I shut the heck up is my man, Brian McCarthy. It was the day that the last show that he was in acting, it was High Fidelity on Hulu. It was the day that it aired. So whatever day that was, I believe this was probably February or January that we did the interview. I got to think about it. But February. Thank you. John just told me February. And so we did that way back when. And listening back to it, I don't always listen back to my interviews, but listening back to it, guys, I got to say, I laughed out loud. I was smiling. I was moved. I was choked up. And because it was like, and Brian had actually been sitting right next to me on my couch in my apartment in Queens when we recorded that. And just listening back to it, it was like, oh man, just talking to my man, like another human, another artist, such a talented, wonderful person. And we got to just sit next to each other and be humans. And it feels like it's been a while since then. But I wanted to give you all the heads up that this episode, don't think we're completely out of touch with reality. We know what's going on, but we did this way before we knew. And I think that you'll appreciate it. If not as much as I did, more. Brian is a wonderful, wonderful human being, a talented artist, actor, comedian, giving human, activist, improviser. He's a wonderful dude that I'm so lucky that I've gotten to know more, not just as a fellow coworker, quote unquote, fellow artist in this field. I've gotten to know him as a fellow human, and I'm very, very grateful for that. So I'm sure you guys will be too. My man, Brian McCarthy.
Hey-o, welcome to Big Face with Samantha Jane Tilton, a.k.a. Sammy Jane. I'm here with the one and only Brian McCarthy.
Hello.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm your first guest.
He is my first guest.
Well, that's
Ever.
what you told me, and then you admitted that John was actually your first
I
guest.
did. So I lied. He's actually my second guest, but I wanted to make him feel special because I kind of knew you needed that, man.
Thank you. I do. I need a little validation to sort of fuel me up here.
See, I know you.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. So you don't know this yet, but Brian is an actor, an improviser, and an activist. And you've seen him, so I know you've done some stuff, but then I was like, this guy's really done some stuff. He's been on The Americans.
Sounds like I've murdered people or something.
I mean, that's
guy's
the
done
stuff
some-
you won't hear today.
Well, yeah, a lot of knife fights.
Yes.
A lot of fist fights.
He's
some martial arts.
if you knew Brian, you'd be like, that mofo's scary.
Yeah, that's why I'm always dying in the television work I've done. I've died
Are you?
3 times now.
For real?
Yeah.
What shows?
I'm a dyer or a guy that gets beat up, or someone that is involved with transportation. I feel like
Okay.
wheels, cars, driving.
Those
yeah.
are kind of your main shticks.
Yes, dying and driving.
Dying to try.
Yep.
It's good. Brian, so all right, we're going to find out more about Brian today, how long you've been doing this. But yeah, you've seen him on The Americans, Patterson, like Father, Orange is the New Black, Blue Bloods, Law and Order, The Deuce, you name it. Kind of got a laundry list, but I won't give it to you all. We'll talk more.
Don't give it to them all. Don't give it all away.
Also, heads up, you're going to be seeing him soon on High Fidelity.
Yeah, it just came out today.
It came out today?
Yeah, on Hulu, and I think it's going to be
Nice.
a really. I watched it today because I thought it might come up in this podcast.
Yeah.
And I was like, what if my scene got cut? Because I only.
Then I shouldn't mention it.
No, I'm only in the last episode, and it was so great to work on that show. Zoe Kravitz is playing Rob,
She's
the role
great.
that John Cusack played in the movie. So it's like a big
Oh.
flip, but it's not. It's a really. As soon as I started the show, I was like, oh my god, this is actually really well done. And so yeah, I made the cut. I'm in it. I think it's going to
Yes.
be a great show. It's already got some great reviews. Zoe Kravitz was so warm and welcoming, more so
Really?
than geez, I've worked on some great sets, but I was never just sitting around in my trailer. She was always like, come down and sit and like watch the monitors and hang with us. So
That says so
Yeah,
much.
it
That's
does.
really, really nice.
yeah,
That's wow. I wish everything was like that in
I
this
know,
business.
I know.
Yeah. But
And yeah, I don't know if that's what it was like, all the time. I'm sure, it was crazy, but yeah, that was a good experience for me, and I had a lot of fun. I got to improvise, and I'm in the last episode.
okay.
Yeah.
How many episodes?
I think there's 10.
Okay. And do they all come out at once, or is it kind
It's
of
all out
It's
today.
all out?
Yeah.
All right, now I'm gonna
yeah.
have to binge watch until I see you, because I don't
Yeah.
want to just see what you're in. I gotta like get invested in the characters and the whole thing. And,
Oh, of course.
and
yeah.
knowing that Zoe Kravitz is nice makes me want to watch it more.
Yes.
Doesn't
yeah.
that happen?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, when I got to work on The Americans, the Matthew Reese and why am I forgetting her name right now?
Carrie Russell?
Carrie Russell. They were they were so sweet. It was incredible. They were like pinching each other's butts and flirting.
No way.
In between the heaviest scenes, like. They were flirtatious and fun and giggly, and then would like immediately drop into like really beautiful acting work. But
That's talent
But it
to be
was
able to go.
light and friendly on set,
And that's a heavy show.
And I think you're right. It's just like it's sort of like you can feel that.
You could feel that energy.
Yeah.
It's funny. Matthew Reese. One time I was in Brooklyn, and this dude was running and with a baby carriage, and like the baby shoe dropped off, and I started running after the guy with the shoe, and I was like, "Oh, your baby shoe," and it was Matthew Reese.
Oh my god.
I know. I had no idea, and I was like, "Oh man, I love you."
Was he nice?
Oh, he's lovely.
Yeah. Right.
He seemed lovely.
But you
so
know
it's
what?
nice
That
to
doesn't
know-
matter. You were nice. You were even nicer than he was. You chased after him with a baby shoe.
Yeah, man. I have this whole thing about gloves and baby toys that I see on the street, and I get like, oh no, they have the other one, and there's this whole like sense of loss and abandonment that I feel for the other shoe
Yeah.
or the other glove.
It is kind of a sad sight.
It
you know?
is like they're just separated, and
Yeah.
maybe forever, especially in New York City.
Yeah, I have a friend who said that one of the most like tragic things you can see in New York City is just like an abandoned upside down stroller.
Oh,
That's a painful sight.
ouch.
Yeah.
Oof. I never thought
Now
about
I've
that
collected I've collected the sights of them in my memory.
Because once you hear that, there's kind of no going back. You notice them.
They're everywhere.
Heartbreaking, man. So now you know. So we live in
Okay.
New York City. So that's where. So Big Face is New York City based, and for those of you tuning in, it's all about the entertainment business, actors, casting directors, just all of us people. We're going to be giving you the inside world of what it's like. So Brian's given us a little bit, just being on set.
It's a splash.
Yeah, just a little splash. So when did you start acting?
Well, I started in,
Okay, so
okay.
when did you know you wanted to act?
All the way back in elementary school, I think.
What made you know?
Well, I remember going to this dentist, all the way back to like when I was able to produce memories. And
far back.
there was like a dental hygienist, and she would always ask me what I wanted to be when I grew up. And I remember saying a Marine, I think was the first.
A Marine?
Yeah, my dad is a Marine, so I was like,
didn't know
I want to
that.
be a Marine. And then I said a lawyer, and then I said a firefighter. This was like every visit. And then one time she laughed at me, and she said, you've changed every job title ever since, every year that you come in here. I was like probably 7 years old in this.
And you had like 7 careers already.
Yeah, but you know how like adults like laugh at children because they think they're so cute.
Yes.
Whenever that happened to me as a kid, I'm like, who the fuck do you think you are?
Right?
Don't you laugh at me.
I am for real. You'll see.
Yeah.
You'll see when I'm a Marine and a lawyer.
Right. And I remember like, my mom probably sort of smiling with her, and they were looking down at me and sort of like, how cute. And I was like, don't you condescend me.
You know who you're dealing with.
Yeah. But then also I remember like sort of like thinking about that and being like, God, she's right though. I've been changing my careers.
And serious about my life at 7 years old.
Yeah.
It's time.
Right.
Make a choice, man.
I gotta start, putting things in my resume. It was just sitting in what was that? God, what was that? That writing software back in the day. It was not Microsoft Word.
Oh, back then, no.
Yeah, what was it?
Oh,
anyway, that
yeah.
joke. A lot of times I like to do that. I like to try to make a joke, but then I can't find the word, and then I just want to talk about it.
Getting
for a while.
older. Yeah.
Let's just talk about what was that software.
What was that software?
I don't know. Let's come back to it.
We're gonna have to circle back to that
This is
for
what
real.
this is all about.
For real, I need to know it because these things will like linger. God, what was that? They will stick in my craw.
Word perfect.
Ah,
That's
that
what
was
it
pretty
was.
good. I don't think I
Word
would have gotten
perfect.
there. Word perfect.
Yeah, we had Prodigy and Word Perfect.
Wow.
Prodigy was for those, that may be a bit younger.
Yeah,
That
there's
was
a lot of
like-
younger
That
generation.
was like how
now.
we dialed into the internet, and it was like there was no, like, Safari or Chrome or Internet Explorer of any kind. It was just like you check your email and look at, low pixels.
Low pixels.
Yeah.
Looking back, and I used to think, growing up, like, this is the height of technology. Like, this is, wow, special effects and everything. And now I watch old movies and stuff from when I was younger, and I'm like, wow. Like,
I know. It was kind of dangerous to make a movie. They didn't even realize. Like how, Sandra Bullock came out with that one, there were all these movies coming out about hacking and computers
Yep.
every year. But then technology was advancing exponentially each year, and so then it made that movie really dumb within a year. The net was so stupid a year later because
Yep.
she was running around with a zip drive,
yes.
fighting crime. And then a year later you're like, that is so
Way to go.
yeah.
You didn't do that at all. You know what's funny? Did you ever go to Disney World?
Yeah.
You know the Carousel of Progress?
No,
It's
I don't remember. I only went when I was so little.
Okay.
That's when I was working on becoming a paralegal. When I was,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Okay. So that was 8. Right.
Yeah.
I figured about
Yeah.
8. Okay.
Right.
8 or 9. Yeah. In Disney World, there's in Epcot. It's called the Carousel of Progress. It's like there's a great big beautiful tomorrow. There's the fake dog. It's all electronic, and they take you around and you see all the different like decades and when things changed. And then the last one, and
Whoa.
I go to Disney World like every 3 to 5 years with my family since I was like born.
Yeah.
And it stopped at like what's it called, virtual reality, but that never took off. What is that, the 90s, that it like never took off? Now it's like kind of happening, but where you talk to your stove and things are voice activated. There's no cell phones and stuff, but it was like technology. Like
That's the end. That's where
the end.
That's so funny.
And it's so off. It's like
they don't have smartphones or anything.
nothing. There's no. I don't think they even have internet. But there's all this like
Video phones.
Right. There's gadgets around the house that you could talk to, like stove at 450, and then the stove like blows up because they're like, okay, 950, you know, and it's like it never went further.
That is a really weird ride.
Really weird, because so much has happened since then. I really want them to work on
That
it.
sounds like a Scientology park ride, you know, like the L. Ron Hubbard merry-go-round of progress.
Yes, in their
Sounds
eyes.
like a self-help technology ride.
We have to go to Disney World and take the ride. You're going to be like, this is not okay. We need some more.
I could have used that.
Yeah,
Back then, you
yeah.
know?
So people talk down to you.
So anyway, sorry, yeah.
No.
But I think it was like, it really was, I remember thinking about that. Like, yeah, she's right. Like, she's got a point. I keep changing. And then I loved watching movies. Oh, I remember seeing Goonies. And I was like, I immediately ran up to my dad and I was like, we got to go look for treasure. And he was like, well, okay, I'll try to think about how we can do that. And he was so sweet. We like a family trip happened like a couple months later, and we visited Luray Caverns, which was like a cave that you could go to. You know, it was a very secure sort of, you buy a ticket and walk through with a guide thing. And he bought me a slingshot in the
That's cool.
in the gift shop afterwards. So that was our treasure hunt. But
That's cool.
so I was sort of like, I loved movies and I loved TV and I loved the idea of adventure, or you know, you could play all those roles. You could play all of those things that I kept on jumping to every year.
Yeah.
When I talked to the dentist, and I was like, okay, that would be great. I could sort of be everything, you know.
I know.
As an actor.
I thought that once, like sometimes in my life when I missed the boat,
Yeah.
like I wasn't quite there yet to pursue my dreams or
Right.
even to pursue my life all the time. And things that I missed out on, like being a cheerleader, for example. I don't know if I'd ever would have been a cheerleader, but I'm
Yeah.
like strong and like,
Yeah,
I'm
I
like
can see
maybe
that
I
you've
could have
been
done
it.
that, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
And I'm intense.
Yeah.
And I missed that. And I'm like, well, now I'm a little older for that, but I'm
Right.
like, maybe I could have played a role where
Right.
and I fulfill that.
Oh, yeah,
that
yeah,
need
yeah,
for that. And I think
exactly.
there's so many different aspects of ourselves that we can fulfill
Yeah.
in the different roles that we play.
Yeah, that's why I mean, it's a hard thing to pursue, and it definitely takes a toll on my like mental health. But
I was going to ask you about that.
yeah, but I don't think I could ever get tired of it because of the opportunity, like the variety that you never know what the next, you know, audition or hopefully booking could be. And yeah, I need that. I really like variety. I like, and that's, you know, much more so with, you know, television and film. You know, if you're working on, I love when I get to come back, you know, more than for just a few days.
Yeah.
But even still, if you're working on the same project for a long time, you know, every day is like a new day.
Yeah.
You know, what are you going to be sinking your teeth into? What are you going to be exploring? And that keeps me going, you know, like even though it is really stressful and I'm worried about, you know, my financial survival
Yep.
and stability all the time.
Part of the way. Yeah.
Right. Like I'm just so, I just love the idea that, or I love feeling like I don't know what's around the corner.
Yeah. It's I would say for me, I think it's invigorating, but also terrifying.
Yeah.
It kind of pulls at both those strings.
Right.
So it's but yeah, like that's, people ask, because you know this, I'm a casting director and I direct
Yeah.
and I'm an actor, and it's the same thing though. It's all freelance.
Yeah.
It's all, I don't know what's around the corner.
Right. You're on
And-
every side.
Every side.
Yeah.
Which is, by the way, people, so this is why I decided to do this, because I've seen so much being on both sides. You know this. I've shared some with you, being a casting director and seeing that side of the business, and also being an actor and being on
Yeah.
that side. And there's so much, and this is what I like. There's so many people out there that had this dream, like you did when they were kids. I did since I was a
Yeah.
kid. That have no idea how to start. I had no idea how to start,
Oh, yeah.
and it's such a hard process to figure out. I feel like we're still figuring it out.
Yeah.
So anything that's helpful, like to people, you know,
Right.
that like, and so like you just talked about. So you wanted to do it since you were little. Did you study it? Did you go to school and study?
I didn't go to college for acting, surprisingly, but I knew kind of deep down that I really did want
Yeah.
to pursue it. I started doing, like, the first play I did was in middle school, and that was the first opportunity I had to audition for something, and so I got a part as King Dune in The Little Mermaid, 7th grade,
Nice.
and then I got into wanting to be cool, puberty happened, and then it was like life was more about like skateboarding and wanting to date the cool girls
Yeah.
in my school, and and then I think it was up until I think sophomore year of high school, maybe I was like, no, I got to get back into theater. I got to do it. It, all my cool friends were a little surprised, but, I still felt it tugging at me. And so I got into the theater department in high school, and I started acting there. And then
Good for you.
yeah, I did musicals, even though I'm not a very good singer. My high school it had a great little theater program.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I give you credit because, especially with the cool kids and all that.
Right.
I was like this, look at me,
Right.
little actor when I was a kid. I loved singing. Listen to me sing.
I could see that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm
Totally.
not surprised.
It's the reason this is big face,
Yeah.
very big. But then after 6th grade, life happened, and then I just wanted to be cool, and
Yeah.
and I lost touch with that, and not in junior high, not in high school, didn't do a second of it.
Yeah.
I stopped singing, stopped acting. It wasn't until after college when I finally got things together that I started pursuing it.
It's probably biological, right? It's probably like our bodies being like, you gotta, reprioritize. It's time to make babies. Just pursue,
Yeah, but you
And-
did it. You did
yeah.
it. You started doing it. There was something tugging at you, and you
Yes.
did it. Even with the cool kid factor
Right.
and all that stuff, because that for me that factored.
Yeah.
What are they going to say? I think that's a lot of the stuff for me. What holds me back with acting
Right.
is what are they thinking? Am I good?
Yeah.
Do they think I'm good? Am I doing well right now? I can get very in my head. Do you feel like you can identify with that, or are you kind of?
100%. I mean, I've always been like really like self-conscious and, had low self-esteem, and I learned how to sort of cover that up. I mean, I cared about what people thought of me.
Yeah.
But of course, I didn't want to ever admit that at that age. It was all about like figuring out how
Yeah.
you can hide that. And, for me, it was, being a clown and getting respect and laughs that way. Like I could only respect myself if I felt like I was, winning the admiration of my peers with like jokes and stuff.
Yeah.
And, but I have to say, like my friends were great. Like I'm still so close with like my high school friends, and they were supportive, and they were also so smart. And I always felt like they were much smarter than me, which they probably are. But
You're pretty smart.
no, well, stop.
Wow.
You are so kind, Samantha. But
Oh man.
I think that was another part of it, is that it feels kind of silly to pursue acting, doesn't it? It doesn't feel like a very smart thing to do.
No, I think everybody would steer us away from that.
Right. It just feels a bit cuckoo.
Yeah.
Like it, and I think a lot of my cool, smart, creative friends were, they've always been supportive of me, but I always felt like it did seem kind of crazy. Like it started to feel like I got way into art. I'd always been into drawing and art, and that
Yeah.
was also like, I think, connected to the same part of me that like loved adventure, and it was sort of an escape for me as acting was. And it was always sort of side by side. There was the performer clown in me, and then there was the drawing comic book characters and stuff, like creating like a world kind of thing. And so in high school I was doing theater, and then I was also really, one of my favorite teachers was Dr. Lewis. She was an art teacher, and I got way into like painting, and I wanted to be like Basquiat, and I was
See, and I just giggled, and I just, because I thought it was endearing.
Oh,
but not in the way that the parents would.
Well, I felt, I just had PTSD. You were just like that nurse. You were just like her. No, I didn't even. I felt like it was a nice, soft, supportive
it's lovely.
giggle.
Yeah, it's lovely.
And so one of my friends, I was really thinking, what do I want to do? Do I want to like pursue art, fine art? Do I want to? Do I want to become a graphic designer? Do I want to become an actor? Like I really felt like, God, I would love to be one of these actors that I'm watching. And by the way, 2001 is when I graduated. The amount of incredible movies that were coming out back then. There's a whole book about how that was like the year for movies.
Really?
Or maybe 1999. Yeah, but while I was in high school.
There's a lot of good movies around that time.
Fight Club, The Matrix.
We just watched The Matrix again the other day.
Yeah, Election. I mean, whatever type of movie you're into, there were these incredible, there were just all these, and so there was this part of me that was like, I would love to be someone who's paid to just perform and act in movies like this.
Yeah. And
I also love art, and I started to get into graphic design and photography, and I was designing like flyers for the plays and stuff, or like what do you call it? The posters. What do you call it? Poster?
Like a poster?
Like a, what is it? Like a
big paper thing?
Yeah. And my friend's mom was Sandy in Grease on Broadway back in the day.
I was in camp in Merrick Woods.
No way. I was Kaneki in high school.
No.
Yeah.
That's a good. I just thought of him the other day.
Kaneki?
Yeah, I was like, whatever. Did he keep?
Whatever happened to Kaneki?
Yeah, did he keep doing stuff?
Did they? Was he a good father?
Yeah. Was he?
Was he around?
was
Was
no
he emotionally in touch
There
with
was
his?
no follow up, and I just always yearned.
God, what if there was there was a Grease too, though, right? I never saw it.
Yes, but it was different characters.
Really?
Yes.
I never even saw it.
That was with Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh wow.
I used to love Grease.
Was it like Wizard of Oz too? Like really creepy and scary? And
it was totally different.
Oh.
It was totally different. Yeah. So you were drawing and you were painting?
Yeah, so my friend's mom was Sandy in Grease on Broadway, but she lived in Alexandria, Virginia, which is where I'm from, which I probably should have said a long time ago. It's right outside of D.C. It's like a commuter town. Nice town. Nice town!
It's a good place.
But anyway, she was sort of like the one person I could talk to about a professional acting career. And she was like, don't go to school for acting. Like, go to school for something else that you could make a living with, and you can there's all kinds of great teachers and coaches and stuff when you get to the city. You can take classes with them.
So true.
Yeah, and I probably should have asked more people or done more research, but remember, research was harder back in those days. We didn't have the internet. We didn't have it was there, but it wasn't what it was now. You couldn't look up a YouTube video of some casting director telling you what to do.
There wasn't this podcast.
Right, there wasn't this podcast.
Learn this crap. Yeah. We had to figure it out all on our own, people.
No, I had no idea how you would ever, I had my grandma reach out to a former writer of a soap opera who was in her 85, an 85-year-old woman who once worked on a soap opera as a writer, and my grandma was like, do you have any idea how to help my son? And she's like, no. She was sweet enough to this is, by the way, handwritten letters. She sent a handwritten letter back to my grandma and was like, I really don't know.
So you had to actually wait till the first letter was delivered, read, written back. We're talking weeks.
Yeah.
Months.
It's
different day.
So anyway, I went to school for graphic design. I went to James Madison University. I got a BFA for fine art. I painted a lot. I did mainly graphic design, which turned out to be my least favorite thing because I just really got tired of staring at a computer screen all day. It just kind of takes the wind out of me. And
I get that. There's something I always say that
Yeah.
even with writing, while I have to, if I'm doing a screenplay or something, I have to write on the computer. There's something to writing by hand. There's something to about sketching by hand.
Oh, for
painting.
sure. Yeah.
It's a connection, I think,
Yeah.
to our soul, like the way our hand moves across a page, and I think it's very special.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I totally get that.
Yeah. There's something about that glowing screen that just, even if you're working on something really cool, I don't know, it takes a lot out of me compared to making art on paper, for sure.
Are you still making art on paper?
Yeah, occasionally I go through like phases where I get way into it. It's hard to, I still paint, but I'll have like maybe like a 2 months a year. Well, I'll get way into it, but I have to pull everything out and like take over my living room.
Right. It's like a whole.
And then put it all away, and that's not very conducive to me painting. I need to my dream is to have like another room or a studio someday, because if I leave it all out, that's when I actually will keep working, because all of a sudden my next move will kind of come to me, and then I want to do it. I want to pull out the paintbrush and do it.
I know living in New York's hard. There's things where I just would love to leave out, but it's all cluttered because the space is so small.
Yeah.
But so you said before, with acting that it can be really challenging to keep going. And what's that like? So with your career, so you have an audition today for something.
I do.
What is it for? You don't have to say exactly.
I mean, it's I've never had one of these before, but it's to dub something in English. A show.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You've done VO before.
Yeah, sure. Commercial, and I've had some auditions for animation, which are rare, but I mean, always so cool.
And you also voiced a role of a real life, right? Wasn't it?
Yes.
World War II hero. Right?
Yeah. So, my friend works for this incredible it's a news site called Waging Nonviolence.
Okay.
And they have done such incredible work about all sort of issues involving social justice around the world, and I definitely recommend checking it out. WagingNonviolence. Is it .com or .org? I can't remember. I don't even know. Waging Nonviolence. If you just Google it, they do such incredible work, and they have like incredible articles. And they produced this podcast, which is about a real life, a true story that happened, during the Holocaust. All these children were saved in this small town in the French Alps, by this Presbyterian pastor and his wife. I mean, his wife was just as much of a hero as he was.
Wow.
And his name is Andre Trocme, and she's Magda Trocme, and they just he was the pastor in this small Presbyterian town, and it sort of was like the Underground Railroad. Like, he just decided to become the sort of the place for kids to escape Nazis and flee to, and he would protect them in plain sight by creating false documentation for them.
Wow.
The whole town, under like their leadership, just protected these kids, and like Nazis would come and they would just disguise the kids as their own, or have them out in the fields. Sometimes they would tell the kids to go forage for mushrooms and don't come back until it's dark, and the kids didn't even know why they were doing that, but it was because there were,
wow,
there were people looking.
That's beautiful.
And so it was like there was never any violence. They never even like lie. I mean, I think he finally had to lie once, and it was so hard for him. But normally he would even say to the face of like one of his enemies, like, "Yeah, I'm going to do whatever I can to disobey you, because you're going to be taking away human lives, and I don't agree with that." But anyway, it's an awesome podcast, and I got to be his voice. I'm not like pretending to be him or doing an accent or anything, because my friend, the creator and producer, was like, I just want it to be, a human.
Truthful.
Yeah.
Did you get to like experience him, tap into kind of who he was?
I mean, it's impossible to not be inspired by like a lot of his speeches, and they're so relevant to today with like, the refugee crisis and everything, and it's only going to continue to grow. And I mean, it's a very relevant story.
I'll definitely check it out. You guys should all check it out too. That
Oh,
sounds
yeah.
beautiful. That really does.
And it's called the City of Refuge.
Yep.
Is what it's called.
Yep, that's
Produced by Waging Nonviolence.
Beautiful.
Thank you for the plug.
Oh yeah, it sounds amazing. It should be
Yeah.
plugged. Yeah,
Thank you.
of course. Thank you.
No, thank you, Samantha.
Thank you. So we still have so much ground to cover. So
Yeah.
it could still be difficult, yes, for your career. How so?
Yeah, I mean, I still I feel so lucky. I am so lucky, to have had some consistent work to pay my bills and make a living as an actor in New York City.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of great relationships with casting directors who, after so much time, like my intimidation has sort of decreased, and I'm just like, oh, these
great.
people are wonderful, they're wonderful people, and they almost feel like friends to me, and I'm really lucky that they continue to call me in for stuff. And sometimes I don't get called in by like a casting director after like an audition that I flubbed a line or two, and I'm like, okay, this is a great example of the mental health. I'm like, they hate me.
Right.
They hate me.
We're so quick to they hate me. I messed it all up.
Yeah.
They're never going to call me in again.
Right.
And it's not true. And
No.
has that happened for you, that you've flubbed or you've messed up an audition and then they didn't call you back and then they did at some point again?
My brain is so quick to paranoia. I've really had to work at that. And the stories that I have created about how much certain people hate me because of the way that I've done something. I mean, it's kind of like narcissistic to believe that I matter so much to these people. Like, the paranoia is crazy. And I do feel like I'm at a place at 37 where I have an awareness of it, and I have an awareness of or a distrust of my thoughts,
Which is
which
great.
is important. But yeah, I mean, I've had many occasions where I'm like, oh my God, that joke that I told when I was leaving that audition, there's always that great awkward moment when you leave an audition, or at least for me, I'm always like, even if I feel like I've done a pretty good job, I'm like, thank you so much. That was great to see you. And then I will pull on the door for a while, and it's a push or something. And I just always succeed in making it really awkward. I don't know.
I have to say that's part of your charm. Which
Thank you.
Which
Thank
is
you.
wonderful. But there is that. But then I know what you mean, and I think a lot of actors can identify with that. Like, it's all like, it just piles on. Like, if the audition didn't go well, they hate me. They think I'm not talented. Everything rides on like what just happened.
Yeah.
And my whole career, because now everybody's going to know I can't really do it and blah, 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 or whatever it is. I mean, I don't know if it's like that for you, but my brain just tumbles into all these thoughts.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so it's good to know that even though you've been working in the film and television industry for how many years now?
Well, I'd say I feel like I became a professional actor, giving it my all in like 2014 or 15. I can't really remember.
And booking roles and working consistently, knock wood.
Yeah, I mean, I left bartending to become a full-time extra.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to have already secured an agent from doing showcases at Actors Connection.
That's wonderful.
Which is a place where you can pay to meet industry professionals. And it doesn't work a lot of the time, but it did work for me.
Yep.
And I was lucky to have an agent, but I was bartending. I was a vampire. I was tired.
Yep.
I was hungover all the time.
Yep.
And I got really depressed. And I was like, you know what? Being an extra would be at least more in the world. And it was. And so, yeah, I include that in my... When I say I became like a professional actor, I was like, I'm going to put it up. I'm going to go all in.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that was 2014.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
And so just, for people listening, it's like to know that you could be doing it this long and be booking and see somebody and feel rejected and then be welcomed back, and still the thoughts are still there. For me, they've gotten way better. I've gotten way gentler with myself. Like,
Good.
you just let it go. You leave it in the room.
Yeah.
I did the best I could with that. It's not up to me.
Yeah.
I've learned that as a casting director, it is so much not about the audition necessarily.
Yeah.
If you don't book it, there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes.
Right.
But yeah, so it's good to know that.
Yeah, I mean, there have been many times where I'm like, I really let that casting director down, you know,
Yes.
and then you get an audition a couple months later, and they're like, oh my God, it's good to see you, and you're like, oh my God, I created a whole story that was fiction.
You had already killed me.
Yeah,
in your mind and
yeah. Oh
murdered me,
God,
slaughtered
yes.
me. It's amazing. It's amazing.
But
how
it's
that
like,
is.
yeah, you know, it's my livelihood, and it's the amount of uncertainty is really hard to deal with. So my brain, it would rather create some sort of sad story, I think, than to just live in the unknown.
And yeah,
Yeah,
the unknown is the hardest.
that's very hard.
It's the hardest.
Yeah,
Can I ask you?
yeah.
So, a couple things actually.
Mm-hmm.
Are there? So you're very funny.
Oh, thanks.
And
You too.
That's all you, man. And and people tell you that, yeah,
Yeah.
often. Do you book a lot of comedic roles, or do you?
Yeah, I also, I just want to clarify. People have told me I'm funny, but I also am lucky enough. Those people that tell me that I'm funny are really funny themselves. I just need to point that out.
But that's so that then you know it's coming from a solid, good. Point
Yeah,
of
see,
view.
this is my insecurity. I don't feel okay about saying a nice thing about myself.
Right. So I can say it for you. So you don't have to. I can say knowing Bri cracks me up. I find you very funny, whether
Thank
you can say it
you.
or not. So we'll leave that.
I guess, but yeah, I was like, I better, insert a little piece that just to reveal. There's a lot of funny people in New York City. I don't think I'm the most funny at all. I think I'm very bottom, low tier. I'm lucky enough to have a lot of funny friends from the improv world and the acting world.
You're a very funny person in your own way, which is the best way. It's like you're very Brian funny, which
I'm an
else.
anxious funny.
Yeah.
I've learned how to plug my anxiety into my mouth and just
right.
let it all out.
Channel that.
Thank you. That's why we get along so well.
Seriously.
I feel like your fuel is similar.
Very.
Yeah.
It's like use that nervous, neurotic energy and do something.
I mean,
with
we met and immediately we met at a casting
Yep.
off at Grande Morris.
Yep.
And we became friends within 20 minutes.
Like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Just sitting in that office.
Yeah.
It's
Connecting hard.
Seriously, dude, when you find a good, solid actor that like you share that energy with, it's like almost nothing better.
Oh, it's true.
It's such a nice
It's
thing.
true. Yeah, I have to say, it's like, I think, I don't want to get us too off track here.
No.
But, I used to really need to hit the bar and, have a couple beers to like get into really fulfilling, energetic, inspiring conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I dove in, like went all in with acting, as I said, I started to meet like a lot of actors for like coffees during the day.
Yeah.
Or even like going to commercial auditions, I started to build some friendships with other actors, and often we'll just be talking in the waiting room, or we'll go out for a coffee afterwards. And I really do love actors.
I know.
I love conversation with them, and no matter what time of the day, there's you can really go deep fast with actors.
Yeah.
For all the shit that's talked about actors.
Yes. That's, you know what, I think I've always said this, and this is a oversimplification. There's kind of two kinds of actors.
Yeah.
I feel like there are very self-centered, self-absorbed, competitive, judgmental actors.
Sure.
And that's not even a judgment on them. That's their own crap when I see that.
Yeah.
And then I find that there are very generous, very warm-hearted, very caring, thoughtful actors.
Yeah.
Which is a lot of actors.
Yeah, there are a lot.
There are
right?
a lot. But
Yeah.
people, actors get a bad name.
Totally.
Like, and there are pains in the ass actors, just like with anything.
Uh-huh.
But because our emotions are our business,
Yeah.
they can be more pains in the asses. But because our emotions are our business, some of the most beautiful souls I've ever met are actors.
I know.
And
It's surprising, but it's true.
because it's a connection. It's getting something that not everybody gets.
Yeah.
Like we can talk, like when we all get together, we can talk and talk about this stuff, and it's like
We can
we're so-
talk
we can
and
talk.
talk and talk.
and talk and talk. So like, all right, so this is something I want to ask you.
Agreed, though.
Yeah, and that's a gift. I cherish that. So like we get it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You grew up
Mm-hmm.
in a house, and did your family get acting, get what you wanted to do? Were they supportive?
I actually, so my dad he was no longer in the Marine Corps when I was born. He was in the Marine Corps still I have a brother who's 7 years older than me.
Right.
And so he was still a Marine. I think until my brother was probably like 4 or 5, but I might be wrong about that. And my mom was a teacher for special needs kids, and then she eventually became a guidance counselor. But anyway, all that is to say, a lot of people hear that my dad was a Marine, and they think that I was raised in a really like authoritarian household.
That would be your first instinct, right?
Yeah. And my dad's actually my dad has a great sense of humor. My mom has a sense of humor. My brother is hilarious, and like we were always cracking jokes. We were always doing like accents. We were always silly. So we were definitely it felt like a great household for performance. Now there was also the other stuff too, like I got along with everyone, and everyone else did not so much get along all the time, and I think a lot of actors experience that. I eventually adopted that role of like trying to cheer everyone up all the time, and we were Irish Catholic. Still are. Everyone is still.
We were.
I'm not practicing Catholic anymore, but it was definitely an Irish Catholic, kind of like a very stereotypical Irish Catholic household where,
I'm very familiar with this.
Yes, yeah, you're not really supposed to. I don't know. For me, it felt like it was important to cover up my sad feelings and cheer up. And I really
Buck up, kid.
I felt like I was good at that. I was like, hell yeah. So that made my parents happy. And my brother was more of like a rebel. He was when something felt wrong to him, like he didn't want to cover it up. And he was an incredible artist and skateboarder himself. But I stole all of his art supplies at an age, and we always joke about that. But anyway,
Thief.
those are, I think those are things a lot of actors have in common. I hear from so many actors that they take on this role of wanting their family to get along and wanting to cheer everybody up, and you can. I became disconnected externally from what was going on internally, and I
totally get that.
I'm still working at that. I still feel like externally I'm supposed to present in this way to make the world outside of me more comfortable. And I'm really thankful to Ava, my girlfriend, my partner, for helping me sort of realize that it's okay to reveal, and important to reveal how to the outside world how I'm feeling, and I no longer need to there's no supposed to, I'm not supposed to do anything. I don't have to do anything. And also I feel like people are happy to see other people be vulnerable, and that means showing people where you're at, and New York is a great place to do that. It's very acceptable to do that.
And I just have to chime in there. That's part of the reason that this is called Big Face.
Yeah.
Because for so much of my life, I walked around with this huge smile on my face. Everyone would always be like, she's always so positive and this and that.
Right.
And I was dying inside.
Yeah.
Because I always felt that I had to make everybody else comfortable. I didn't want it to be awkward for anyone. I wanted it to make it nice.
Yeah.
And I was worse and worse doing that.
And yeah.
And
same.
I'm better and better the more that I'm me, that I can allow myself to be me and not worry that people are going to judge it or see too much. the people that I connect with and that I identify with and the things that move me
Mm-hmm.
are not things that look shiny. It's when people are vulnerable. It's
Yeah, and I think that that's been so helpful for me to learn. And I have to be honest, like I'm learning at this late age of 37. You know, like maybe at 36, I started to really understand that I had this sort of issue that was really, you know, I was often very like sad and just really not loving myself. And I think learning that that I didn't need to pretend that I was in front of people, it does bring conversation to that deep, exciting place
Yes.
faster when
Yes.
you reveal that or you're honest about it.
course.
And oftentimes it actually does make me happy. So then it's like,
I know.
yeah,
It's
like,
courageous. I think it is, because to me, I think it's courageous to be vulnerable.
yeah, it's very, it's very,
It's the hard, for me, it's the hardest
because
thing.
it is really scary. Like, you know, Brene Brown talks about having a vulnerability hangover, and I definitely get that too. As I'm
Oh my
like,
God, yeah.
as I'm sometimes like really opening up, and now like, because I feel like it's exciting and it's good, and then sometimes I'm like, ooh, I think, you know, the next day I might wake up and be like, oh, I think I may be like over opened up to
right.
that stranger or the that guy in that audition yesterday.
It's that immediate self-doubt.
Yes.
Did I show too much? Now,
Yeah.
Now they really know me. Now they're
Right.
they're not gonna like me anymore. That's
Right.
It's like, it's always,
Yeah.
for me, it's like so much of my life has been trying to find that line of what to share, what not to share, how to be me and fully be me without being too me, or without, I just want to be me and not have to check it.
Yeah.
And that ties into my acting so much.
Right. Oh, it really does. Right. It's like the exact same thing in a different way.
Yeah. It's like, do you find it like when you're acting, is it easy for you to be vulnerable? Has it been a process?
I think that it's so critical to a good performance.
Yeah.
And I'm still working on it. Like, but yeah, I think that in the same way that I have felt like I'm supposed to present to the world as a happy, charismatic, confident person for so long, it's hard not to receive a script for an audition, and my mind is flooded with how this performance should look.
Yeah.
But my best performances are not when I'm thinking or concerned with how the performance should look.
Yep.
But I'm just connected to the words and I'm saying them to the person. I'm in the mood, I feel like. I think for me, what I like to try to remember is like, what mood am I in right now? And then just try to have the conversation with the person and see where it goes. It's so weird though, because I feel like my programming refuses to solidify this piece of information. Every time I get a script,
I know.
and I've been doing this for a while now,
Yeah.
and I've had some success. It could be like, I'll study lines for an audition for like a day and a half or something if I have like a lot of time, which is rare. And then like 45 minutes before the audition, I'll be like, oh my God, I've been doing it this whole time. I've been thinking about how this should look.
How it should sound. I
Right.
know. It's amazing.
It's like I get amnesia.
It's like the actor's curse. I know.
Yeah.
Whenever I coach or I teach class, and that, like, actors will ask me what makes an audition good, and I'm like, if I can tell you one thing, it's like, don't think about how it's supposed to look.
I know.
How it's supposed to sound, how you think this character is supposed to say it or be.
Yeah.
Trust your instinct.
Right.
Like, when I read sides, like, I have an immediate like wonk. Like, I'm immediate. So that was me tapping.
Immediate what? A
wonk.
wonk?
And that was me just physically showing that it like goes into my gut. It goes into, and I immediately am like connected in a way to this character, to what's going on. And if I just stay in that space, of just like, what's going on with this person,
Right,
and like,
right,
and then
right.
I'm just act as if that's it. It's like, it's that simple sometimes, but I
Yeah.
forget.
I know, it's so weird.
It's so
just,
weird, and especially because when somebody's going to be watching, or the casting director, what do they want it like?
Yeah.
And as a casting director, I can say that nobody wants it a certain way. They want to see how you, the actor, does it, brings something to it, because none of them are going to look the same. But when I've seen people
care about it so damn much, you know?
That's what it is that for me, I get in my own way.
Right.
I overthink, I overdo, because I care so much.
We gotta pay the bills.
I know, and it's like, it's so much easier when it's more just like, it's just,
The stakes are unbelievably high because it's not just that. I think with pursuing acting, it's not a matter of like, am I going to get this job and be able to pay rent? I think a lot of people feel the weight of having to give up the entire pursuit in itself.
Yep.
You know, like that's always sort of hanging over. Like, am I going to have to give this up? Did I just waste like 15 years of my life?
Exactly.
So
I know it's fear, and it's all fear, and it's
right.
But also rightfully so. We have to find, God willing, things kick off in acting. Some people have to find day jobs and figure out what to do. It's a struggle.
For sure.
And acting is a full-time job, even just prepping and doing everything that you have to do, your website and all this stuff.
Oh God, yeah.
It's a constant evolving thing. I'm working on things constantly to try and.
You're never finished with your work. That's
never.
Ugh.
And then go ahead. No, please.
I was just gonna say that for me, and this isn't the same for a lot of actors, I feel like it's important for me to not identify personally as an actor.
That's interesting.
Of course, it's like that is my job, and that's what I want my job to be forever. But I have to remember that like I'm just actually a human that's been lucky enough to consistently pay bills with acting jobs, and if I can keep doing that, I'm really lucky. But also, like, what else in life do I really like? You know, what do I love? What excites me? My self-worth can't be connected to my status as an actor.
If you book, if you don't book, because that's out of our control. It
is, and it's like I gotta enjoy life. Like, we don't even know what we're doing here. We better, kind of enjoy the ride and like let our eyeballs enjoy what they're seeing.
Yes, I know.
Instead of like being like, you don't get to enjoy what you're seeing right now because you didn't book that commercial yesterday.
I know. It's
that,
like,
and that is selling something that you don't agree with ethically.
That's amazing. There's somebody that I love that always would say to me, like, put the bat away. Mm-hmm. Put the bat away, because I could just be so hard on myself. Like, I didn't book that. I didn't.
Yeah.
And but it's funny that nervousness, that like, just try. You said like, enjoy what you're seeing and enjoy. Yeah. I was going into a legit audition like months ago, and I was fine until like the end of the train ride to the audition, and then my heart was pounding.
Yes.
It's like pounding, and I was like, I'm gonna have a heart attack.
Yeah.
And it's like, what do you do? Mm-hmm. Like, how do you get out of that? There's like nothing to do. And all I could do. And so I got out of the subway and I started walking, and I just started to look around at the neighborhood that I was in and the people walking.
Right.
And I started to just go, this is beautiful. Like, I'm never in this part of the city. And like, just really take it in and go, I'm grateful. I get to go to a building and go audition regardless of the outcome. I'm doing it.
Right.
Like, I get to go audition right now. Like, whatever happens, you know how many people aren't going to a legit audition right now? Like, I'm so grateful.
I know, right? That is like a huge fit, or like a reframe when you can reframe it, I think.
Yeah.
Like, instead of, how often my brain goes to all the ways that I could potentially sabotage this, or I could fuck this up.
Yes.
I mean, that's where I go, like, all the time. I'm like, how can I fuck this up? If I can, don't do this, don't do this, don't do this. I'm not thinking this could be great. I know. This could be fun.
This could be fun.
Oh my God. But yeah, when you're going in to see a casting director, like I've had the same realization where I'm like, oh my God, like I'm so, like, if I can just sort of really connect to the fact that like I'm lucky to be here.
Right.
That's a different energy entirely.
It is.
And it's pretty easy to just walk in and be like, hey, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Like this is awesome for me.
This is awesome, right?
Yeah.
And
Because
it's just, yeah, go ahead.
I don't have to put an effort to believe that either.
I know.
I do underneath all of my fear of fucking it up.
Yeah.
That exists, that feeling.
100%.
And so I can put a little more power into that.
Yeah, but it's like I didn't know what else to do. My heart, and it's just like it just dawned on me. Take it in.
Yeah.
Appreciate.
Mm-hmm.
When all else fails, usually for me, if I go to the gratitude, it takes me to a different place immediately. Like it just is. I have to remind myself of that, you know?
Yeah, there's a great quote that I can't think of right now, but
Oh,
it's very
but it would have
it's
been
very much
great.
about what you're talking about.
It's good to know.
Yep.
One day you'll share it
Yep.
with me. And just to say, there's a reason why you get called back in. Like, and you don't have to take this in, you don't have to say anything, but like, I believe when an actor is working and consistently called in, yes, you're talented and they call you in because you can do what they want, but it's also who you are. They want to work with you. You're somebody that you walk into the room and people like you. And that is because of who you are. You're thoughtful, you're caring, you love what you do, and you're a nice person. Like, you're wonderful, and that's part of, yes, you're talented, but you're also wonderful.
Well,
And-
thank you very much, Samantha.
but it's true, and I know you don't have to say much about that, but you should know that.
Well, I would like to say that all the reasons that I am that are because I'm pretty sure everybody hates me.
That's
I'm pretty sure you're wrong.
Yes.
So I just gotta present as
As
all
if-
those things.
Yes, just keep wearing that
Yeah.
face, you know. That
Yeah. Inside is a terrified little boy.
I'm so glad you've come a ways with that. And Ava, so we touched on Ava.
Yeah.
You met Ava through acting, yeah?
I did. I actually, God, it's so crazy. I have a friend. He's another great actor named Jaspel Binning, and he's represented by Paradigm for commercials.
Okay.
And I am too. And
Doug
I was
Keston?
I was dropping off a Christmas gift, and I ran into Jaspel, and he was dropping off a Christmas gift for his voiceover agent there, Matt Smith. Now he's Matt Smith McCormick, and
That's right.
he I guess I should plug also. I got my agent, for anyone that's wondering. I am represented with Paradigm. They're incredible, and I landed them by doing a industry showcase at Actors Connection. Also, I'm not paid by Actors Connection.
Yeah.
I've never done a testimonial.
This is not an
But
endorsement.
I feel like lucky that we have that opportunity.
Yep.
You know. Anyway,
No, it's true because, look,
I didn't know how any of that crap for like a year and a half when
Yep.
I moved here, so I feel like I should just say.
no, that's
you know.
part of, at some point, I haven't told him yet, but I'm going to be interviewing the owner of Actors
Oh,
Connection.
that's
He doesn't
great.
know that yet, but I'm going to
yeah,
throw it
you
at him.
should.
Because
You should.
it's a great,
And there's one-on-one and
Yeah.
there's
There's all
others
these other
too.
resources.
But I have, I've done things at one-on-one, and they're both
Yeah.
great resources. Anyway, so I'm dropping off a Christmas gift. I run into Jaspel. Jaspel's like, do you do voiceovers here? And I'm like, no, I haven't quite crossed that bridge. And then he's like, just hold on, stick around here. I'm gonna introduce you to Matt Smith. And then Matt Smith walked out, and he was like, what are you guys talking about? And we were like, well, we're actually both just talking about how we're getting over breakups right now. Because we were also talking about that while we were waiting.
yeah,
And then he goes, well,
as actors do.
yeah, and he was like, well, send me your voiceover demo over the holidays, and then I'll be in touch with you when we in January. And we're a full service agency, so let me know what your type is.
So for those of you that don't know, that are starting out acting, your type will be a thing that you'll hear a lot.
Yes,
Try
but
not-
he meant romantic interest type.
Oh, good call.
Yeah.
That's another type.
And so I laughed. And the crazy thing is he did introduce me to Ava Eisenson, my girlfriend.
No.
Yeah. Basically, unintentionally.
Was that your type? Like, so when he said, what's your type? Were you
Oh,
like,
yeah.
a little
I mean-
Jewish girl with curly hair? Like,
Well, I mean, so he calls me in for my first voiceover audition, and I was so nervous. Again, how many ways can I fuck this up?
Right.
100, 150,000. And I'm so nervous. And yeah, I've got my exercises to deal with that, and they don't always work. But I walk in and I'm like practically trembling, and it's a little waiting room with like a couple like cushioned seats and a sofa chair, and I don't see any commercial copy anywhere. And I just look and I see this like beautiful, like intimidating woman, and I'm like, do you know where the commercial copy is? And she was like, yeah, it's right there on the wall. And it was like there's like a magazine rack, like screwed into the wall, and that's where you
exactly
take your sides.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, thank you. And she like had this big smile, and I was like, why is she smiling at me like that? She is like out of my league. And then Matt was so sweet, and despite my probably shivering voiceover performance that day, where you're like trying to sell something and sound happy, but you're like, come into Popeyes and get a new chicken sandwich. But he continued to like me enough to call me in, and
because those days happen.
Yeah.
To every actor.
I hate ingredients. I can't freaking talk about lobster with dairy poured on it. It's so hard, not because I'm like saying I disapprove.
Yeah.
But it's just like my mouth is like the all new. I can't even try.
You're like, I hate them
I don't
that
even want
much.
to do it. But for anyone listening, please continue to call me in for those auditions.
I will do well, I promise.
I will. It's just for whatever reason that always trips me up. And anyway, so Matt Smith himself is a comedian, and I went to his solo show, and then that woman was there again, smiling at me. And I actually didn't even realize it was the same beautiful woman. I thought it was a different beautiful
He knows
woman.
a lot of beautiful women.
Yeah. And she also like, so the first time I saw her, she was like dressed up for an audition, and she was like all like clean and polished.
Right.
And I'm sort of like, not for me. Beautiful.
But
Then I see her at his solo show, and she has sort of like a hippie bag. Like her purse is like a sort of like a cool textured, like it's from like Tibet or something, and it's got like sort of like a little bit. She's gonna kill me for saying this. It's a little bit dirty, and she had a puffy. It was winter. She had like a puffy down coat with paint on it, and I was like, oh yes,
I'm in love.
This is what I'm talking about. Like, she's not a shopaholic. Like, she's just sort of like
earthy.
Yeah.
She's like
unashamed to just fucking have that paint on her coat. And I was, have you ever seen Terminator 2?
Yes.
Remember when Arnold Schwarzenegger's like got his like radar for who's his perfect fit, his perfect match? My brain like clocked all these things, and it was like, it was like perfect match. And so I avoided her for the rest of the night, and
as you do.
Yeah, and just stalked her on Facebook for like 2 months, and hoped to see her at every voiceover audition that I went to. And eventually I went and saw her play, and we met at a bar afterwards, and the rest is history.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that was how many years ago?
It'll be 4 years on March 17th, St. Patty's Day.
Wow.
Yeah.
And for those of you that don't know, Ava's so wonderful, and you two together are wonderful, and
we're opposites. That's
total
the thing.
opposites.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
I mean, I also have a dirty purse and paint on my puffy coat, but other than that, yeah.
Other than those obvious things, yeah. And you guys complement each other so well, and just even
it can be hard. It can be very hard,
yeah.
but I wouldn't trade it, because I think I'll never get bored of like her mind is so different than mine. When people remind me a lot of me, I'm so hard on myself that I'm like I can be more hard on that personality type, or more frustrated.
Yes.
Because I'm like, oh, come on.
Do it already.
Yeah. Like, we know what this means. Just put your shoes on, because that's how I talk to myself. And if someone reminds me of me, it's sort of like, ugh. And she frustrates me for reasons that aren't like me, and I'm less hard on those reasons.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you guys make each other better in that you guys grow differently being with each other, which I see even just knowing you guys together this long.
A lot of talking. Yeah, we have to talk a lot. But I mean that it's interesting. They can be hard conversations to try to understand, because I mean it's like I'm talking to someone who is from really from another planet.
Yes.
With a completely different operating system.
It's like an unbelievable, like, how you could be so different.
Yeah.
And like, they say men and women are different, and that's true. The way that we think, the way that we respond. But when you guys are like a great example of that. Just like even hearing you try to understand her, it's like, I don't get it. Like,
Oh my God.
like it takes you a while to like get it. And like
Yeah.
her too, like she can get frustrated. Like, why?
Right,
Why?
right,
I feel
right.
like a big question for her is like,
Yeah.
why with you?
I mean, I think you and her are both. I think it's so. And John,
Yes.
your boyfriend,
Yep.
I think we're very simple. I mean, it's funny because you're both Jewish. John and I are both Irish Catholic, right?
Yep.
Raised Irish Catholic.
Yes.
But I think that it's very appealing. Like you guys aren't. I feel like you're very much who you are. Like you're not trying to. We talked about the whole. The thing about presenting
Yes.
is happy and all that
Yes.
stuff. But I don't know. There's something very much. I never felt like Ava was trying to put on a cool, like performed
Yeah.
identity sort of. You know
You
what
were
I'm
able
saying.
to just
I'm like, whoa, you are who you are, and that is an
Yeah.
interest, and that's interesting. And I get that from you too. Like
ditto.
Yeah.
That's I and especially when all four of us are together, it's such a cool to me.
Right.
It's such an interesting dynamic. The way that you and John are very similar,
Uh-huh.
and Ava and I are similar,
right,
but yet we're all different.
total. Oh,
And
of course, yeah.
It's really being around you two is nice. It feels like I can be myself. I think
Yeah,
John
likewise.
feels that way. Yeah, regardless of anything. So that's
Yeah.
awesome. Yeah, you guys are pretty awesome. So I
You
have
guys are probably.
no you.
You.
So one thing I wanted to
That's how you make a podcast
That's-
really entertaining. You just keep trading compliments
Yeah.
back and forth
No,
uncomfortably.
You're better. So one thing we talked about, so you're comedic and you're seen as comedic and people think you're funny. And I think I shared with you that my old acting coach years ago challenged me to do stand up.
Oh yeah.
And he challenged me multiple times. He stopped class and
Mm-hmm.
challenged me and said, I want you to do 3 open mics.
That's
and blah, blah,
right.
blah. And I never did it.
Right.
And I asked you, did you ever think about doing stand up?
Yeah. Right.
And you were like, ugh.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
And you haven't done it.
No.
And I haven't done it.
Uh-uh.
And I left to my own devices, I will never do it.
Right.
But I kind of wanted to propose a challenge.
Oh my God.
I know. And because I'm only thinking about it in terms of you. I'm not getting
No, I
there, that
appreciate
I would
it.
have to do it.
Someone challenging me.
But I think kind of like that going into an audition and
Right.
like not giving a crap.
Yeah.
Like what they think of us or whatever.
Still have not reached that level, by the way.
Oh, I don't know if anybody ever fully does.
I'm only like a level 3. That's yeah.
I think it's there are some moments that I'm more tapped into that than others.
Yeah.
It ain't always the same.
I get there when I'm like, if I'm going to an audition after I just worked on like a web series with a friend, and I'm like,
Yes.
I'm an actor already. I don't need your validation anymore. And that feels great, and it's rare.
And that's right. But I think that that's why it's also important for us to have all these other things that we
Yeah.
feel good about
Oh,
and
totally.
that we're doing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. So back to
I'm trying to change the
Yeah,
subject.
don't I know it, son of a bitch.
damn
So
it.
what would you say about us challenging each other to trying stand up?
I'm all for it. It doesn't make me feel good inside.
Oh,
but
I after we talk, once I actually realize if we do this,
Uh-huh.
no, if we commit right now, we're gonna do it.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna like cry and be like very upset. Like,
Okay,
it's
well, how do we-
terrifying. But I say
Oh,
we commit to doing it,
God.
shake on it, and I think we find an open mic, pick a day, and just prepare like 3 minutes of whatever
Uh-huh.
before then.
Well, I think the thing that's kind of cool about it is back in the day, oh God, that was probably like 5, 6, 7 years ago. I met with my friend Alex Anderson, who was a stand-up forever.
Yeah.
And he was I was like, I want to pick your brain about stand-up. And he sat with me for like 2 hours, gave me everything. I took notes and I never, ever did it.
Oh,
but
yeah.
that was also because I was like, it was for my career. I wanted an outlet. I wanted to put myself out there.
Yeah.
But really deep down, I just wanted to be an actor.
Right.
But I mean, it sounds like this challenge feels more like it's about like our personal growth, kind of like doing what makes us scared, and
Yeah.
will it bring us joy if we get over the fear? And I'm all for that intention. I
mean,
guess you
I
could
guess
say.
whether or not we ever want to do stand-up ever again, the very fact that we've both been told we should and that we're funny and yada yada,
Yeah.
and the fact that we haven't,
Right.
and we both know that it terrifies us, makes me want to go, let's look this shit in the face,
Right.
F you fear, and just do it, just so we can be like,
But
But-
we have to do it all with a New Zealand accent. Just kidding. That's
Tis. I had a friend named Tess, and she would always say her name was
Tis. Yeah, I had a friend named Ben, and he was like, I'm Bean. And I was
Yeah.
like, Bean?
I like even the thought of a New Zealand
Bean.
accent. I'm like, I couldn't even if I tried. Just Tis, because that was her name.
So yeah, you get to be Tiz, and I get to be Bean. And we're doing stand-up.
What do you say?
Okay.
Yeah?
But what? When do we? Is there a date? Is
We
there a
can
time?
find one. We can.
So we have 10 years to do this, right?
I would say by April 15th. What do you say?
Okay.
I feel like that gives us like, yeah. I was like, yep. Da-da-da. Pinky swears, all this good stuff.
Scooby-Doo.
We're doing all this stuff. Okay. And so my boyfriend, John O'Connor, he used to do a lot of stand-up.
Oh yeah, so he's got good intel probably for
Yeah.
like starting open mics.
Yeah, so he could probably, and a lot of people, his friends, now he does his podcast, Spectacular Show, because he's kind of out of the stand-up thing. But he can help us
Yeah,
just come up with whatever.
I like that.
Yeah, and he'd be so happy to. So
I'm not that worried right now because I am not believing it, but I know that you are gonna make me do this. So.
we're gonna hold to this, my friend. Yeah, we'll leave it there, and we'll explore.
Okay.
Oh, and I will keep you all posted, and I'm sure we'll have Bri back after we do this. Talk about that experience. And what else did I wanted to add? I wanted to ask you so much. But so where can we keep up with you, hear more about High Fidelity, and
Yeah, look, check out High Fidelity. I think it's gonna be a great show. My website is brianmccarthy.net.
okay.
I don't know. I'm not a big social media person.
Oh, I hear you.
But I think my Instagram is _Brian_McCarthy _
Okay.
Yeah.
And if you just type in Brian McCarthy,
Actor.
actor,
Yeah.
NY, whatever. He's on IMDb and all that crap.
Yeah. Look at my IMDb page because that will make the star meter
That will make.
go
Oh,
down or up or whatever it
see, I don't even know that much about. See, because I
goes up, but the numbers go down.
Oh, okay, so that's like a thing.
Yeah, and
Okay,
then if
cool.
it goes down really far, you just immediately become, an A-list actor, and
That's-
your dreams come true.
So close.
Yeah,
So close. All right, so I have one more thing.
yeah.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, my listeners of Big Face, it is time for the Big Face feather in your cap. So, by feather in your cap, we mean a success, achievement, or something you've learned that may help you in the future. So every week, we ask our guests if they wouldn't mind, Brian, if you wouldn't mind, to give our listeners a feather to put in their caps. So, do you have anything that you'd be willing to share that might be helpful for other actors out there or for anybody?
That's a good question. A feather. What feather do I have? What I'm thinking about a lot is what we talked about earlier. And I would say to write it down so you don't forget like I do every time. to not spend all your time preparing for an audition by imagining how you think it should look. Just imagine, how you feel and, try your best to just go in and then be present with the reader.
That's it, man.
But I always forget that.
So take a feather for your cap, my friend.
Yes, I'll take a feather for my cap.
Don't you love it?
Don't you love it?
don't you just love,
Love it.
I love it.
Love it.
We love it. Bri, thank you so much for being
We
here
should
today.
do a hug where the microphones sort of like make a muffled noise
Let's do
so
it.
everyone knows that we're hugging.
Let's hug and muff it out. Wow, that sounds so dirty.
Is it? There we go.
Yeah, we're muffing it out. Make of that what you will. My man, Brian McCarthy, thank you so
My
much.
man.
My man. All right, kids, we'll see you later. See you next week. Thanks for tuning in. Hope you learned something you should have. Otherwise, open up your fucking ears.